Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 544 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as always by former heavyweight world title challenger, the main man himself, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. That's the truth. We're going to dive straight in then to the review part of the show. We're going to start here last Saturday at the Co-op Live Arena in Manchester in the United Kingdom. It was live on DAZN. It was a Frank Warren card on the Saturday. Magnificent 7 it was, of course, billed as. We're going to touch on a few of the fights. Firstly, a massive congratulations to Brad Pauls, friend of the show. He's now 21-2 with a draw. A TKO in the 9th round of a scheduled 10-rounder against the previously undefeated 15-0 Shaquille Thompson. Shaquille Thompson pretty much won maybe every round of that fight until he walked onto a shot and showed his inexperience because he got hurt. He didn't hold. He didn't really know what to do when he got hurt. And Brad Pauls, credit to him, seized the moment, jumped on him. And I said on last week's show, I said, this is going to be an interesting fight in the second half of the fight. That is exactly what happened. Brad Pauls is an extremely fit guy. You're not going to be fitter than him on fight night. It's just the way it goes. And he had the conditioning, the ring smarts and everything he needed to get the stoppage when he got his man hurt. He's not known for knocking people out, but what a way to turn the fight on its head, and credit to him. I'm really happy for him. He's tore up the script there, and hopefully he gets something big off the back of that. I'm over the moon for him. Moving on, I will just say as well, Shaquille Thompson now 15-1. That one was for the vacant IBF International Middleweight title. Thompson down twice in the 9th round. Moving on, we saw Nathan Heaney lose again. He's now 19-2 with a draw. A unanimous decision loss over 10 against Jerome Warburton. So another upset on the card. Jerome Warburton now 17-2. Like we knew, this magnificent 7 card, there were a lot of evenly matched fights and already 2 upsets out of 2 mentioned on the card. Nathan Heaney, I mean, I just don't know what he's got left. I expected him to win that fight there, but he didn't really look his old self. You've got to think that once upon a time he beat Denzel Bentley. I don't know how he did that, looking at his performance there the other night. I mean, he's lost a few steps, unfortunately. But what can we say? I mean, credit to Jerome Warburton. I did say again on last week's show, this will be like his world title fight. It's the kind of win that he needed to reignite his career, and he's done that, so I'm happy for him. But Nathan Heaney doesn't seem like he's got too much left. I know he wasn't a top-level fighter anyway, but he just seems like he's burned out very quickly. Also on the card, Moses Itauma, Eddie. I'm sure I'm hoping you saw the clip. He's now 14-0, a TKO for him in the 5th round against Jermaine Franklin, now 24-3. He's finally been stopped. Franklin down once in the 3rd and once in the 5th there for the WBO Intercontinental Heavyweight title. Itauma, a lot of people are really getting excited with this one. They really are. In the US as well, a lot of people are really on the train now for Moses Itauma. The interesting thing to me is that I don't understand what a win over Jermaine Franklin has got everyone suddenly believing. And what I mean by that is there were people that believed in him beforehand. I don't think that Jermaine Franklin was the guy for him to beat, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, whoa, this guy is legit. We all thought we knew how good he was before this. I think there's still people in the heavyweight division that I would say to keep him away from for now. I think he is still learning. He's still young. But, yeah, you know, it was a statement because he got this guy out of there, and we know this guy had been the distance with Dillian White and Joshua. But it was a statement, and I give him that, and he was coming off a good win, Franklin. But I don't think I've learned anything more about Italma. I still think he's extremely talented. And I didn't think that Franklin would be able to sort of pose any, you know, offensive questions, more so like how long it would take for Italma to figure him out and get him out of there, or if he were to be able to get him out of there altogether. I wasn't expecting Franklin to offer him too much in terms of, you know, I don't think Franklin was ever going to win the fight in any way. It was just a case of how he'd sort of find his style, because it was, you know, it was sort of his first time boxing a guy who knows how to cover up properly and has been on the big stage before. That was the only thing that Franklin had going for him. It wasn't anything offensive. It was more defensive. But anyway, did you see the clip, Eddie, at all?
Yeah, I watched some of it, actually. It was just what I would have expected, except I didn't really know how Franklin would deal with the power, and you know whether because you got to see him with elite guys. But I mean, I see he stopped Dillian, and you know that kind of made me think, yeah, Dillian's been stopped before by guys who I don't think probably could be, or the puncher, or at least at this stage in his career that Italma is, but. It's not just the power. It's the timing. It's the speed. It's the range. It's the setup. It's a lot of things. I mean, you don't have to throw a punch super duper hard to even get a knockout, believe it or not. So the fact that he's stopping guys like a Franklin, and I think people were excited mainly because of what Franklin has done as far as like going the distance with these guys who are supposed to be high-level guys and big punchers, and almost winning against Dillian White, which when he was more, I guess Dillian White than now. So it just looks crazy to see somebody who's in the prime of his life at this point, Franklin is the best he's going to be, to get annihilated essentially like he did by Italma. And the way he did it, and it was almost like he was in survival mode for the majority of the fight, including the first round. So it's just like, I can understand why people see it and say it now, because Franklin is always, he's a tough guy to deal with. You know what I mean? Skill wise, he knows where to be, he knows how to defend to a degree. And it's just, I can understand what the fuss is now. I already kind of knew about it already. I've seen him fight a few guys, and I saw enough. So now it just kind of solidifies that more for me. But he's now going to be on Front Street for everybody. And I hope for his sake he's able to still pull some of these fights, as you go forward. But I don't really think there's too many limitations on who he should go in the ring with next. I mean, don't get me wrong. You don't want to just put in there with anyone at this stage. You still want him to get a few more fights, maybe a little bit more experience, and maybe a high-level fight with somebody who's not quite as dangerous, and see where he's at. But I think he's the real deal. I think he got the goods.
Yeah, the hand speed is something that you highlighted last week, and that was definitely a factor on the weekend. Moving on, we also saw Willie Hutchinson, friend of the show, move to 20-2, a unanimous decision for him over 10 against the previously undefeated Ezra Taylor, now 13-1. He loses that one for the vacant WBO light heavyweight global title. It was a good performance from Willie Hutchinson. I said it again on last week's show. I feel like I've said that many times already in the 8 minutes or something that we've been recording for. But Willie Hutchinson, when he is on his game, he is a world-class fighter in my opinion, and that is what we saw of him the other night. Way too much ring IQ for Ezra Taylor's capabilities. Ezra Taylor, credit to him, he didn't stop trying, and I do actually want to see him back against one of the other names. I threw a load of names out last week. guys that he hasn't shared the ring with just yet. And there's so many fights that can be made domestically. Now that he's lost his O, there's nothing to protect as such. Hopefully we now get those fights, because I think he is competitive in them fights for sure, and possibly beat some of the guys that I mentioned. But this here against Willie Hutchinson, it was almost like the style was just made for Hutchinson. And I was so confident that Hutchinson would win. I bet on him quite big, Hutchinson. And I never really had a doubt in my mind. And he dominated him really from start to finish. He just had way too many gears for Ezra Taylor. It was exactly how I thought the fight was going to go. Also on the card as well, Liam Davies, another friend of the show, another win now, 18-1. He got a stoppage against Italy's Francesco Grandelli, now 21-5 with 2 draws. That one for the EBU European and the WBO Intercontinental Featherweight titles. Grandelli down in the 4th round. Listen, to get the stoppage over Grandelli, who we'd seen go the distance against Nathaniel Collins, who's a really highly respected and touted fighter, and for Liam Davies to go in there and get a stoppage over him, that's a statement made. I do believe, and again, I'm saying it again, I said it on last week's show, Liam Davies, since he's moved up to featherweight, he seems like the old Liam Davies again. I do really believe that he was struggling with weight issues down at Super Bantam, and now obviously we've got him at featherweight, and he appears like his old self. So it was a really good performance from him. I love watching him fight. I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't particularly like Liam Davies, but I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a really, really talented fighter and very underrated, because I honestly feel like he's one of the best talents that we have in the UK. All the very best to him as well moving forward. We're going to move now, though, to the final card to mention, which went down at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, USA. It was live on Amazon Prime pay-per-view, Eddie. I'm going to touch on the undercard first. I do want you to jump in if you saw this, but I'm going to start with this one. Yoen Lee Hernandez moves to 10-0. A TKO against Terrell Gausha, who's now 24-6 with a draw. Friend of the show, Terrell Gausha. One of the worst stoppages I've ever seen in my entire life. It was such a terrible stoppage. I feel gutted for Gausha, by the way, who's known for having a good chin, known for his durability, his ring IQ, his experience, all the rest of it. He's got a deep pedigree as an amateur and as a pro. He'd never been stopped, and to get stopped in that fashion was disgusting, because we're going to forget about what happened in the fight at one point and just look back at records, and records say that he lost by stoppage. He was weathering a storm. That's what I would say. He was weathering a storm, but the moment that the referee decided to actually stop it was terrible. So I'm assuming you didn't see that, Eddie, because you would have jumped in. But one of the worst stoppages I've ever seen. It was criminal from the referee. So we're going to move on from that one. Horrible display. Also on the card, Yoenis Tellez moved to 12-1. A unanimous decision against Brian Mendoza, now 23-5. That was on paper a bit of a 50-50 type of fight. It was a bit of a step up for Tellez, who's already been found out as a pro. But yeah, a head clash early on, and Tellez, I think, broke his nose in that head clash. And to be honest, he didn't need to continue. He could have probably found a way out of that fight right then and there. But credit to him, he carried on, and he took his 5 minutes, but he carried on and finished the fight. And I think it was risky because he seemed to be in a lot of pain, and he went down and there was a pool of blood from all the blood pouring out of his nose. I was thinking, if Mendoza hits him on the nose, he's gonna probably have to pull out the fight. He was in so much pain, yet he carried on and actually won the fight. So there you go. I mean, what does that say about his heart? He didn't need to do it. He would have still got paid. But yeah, credit to Tellez for doing that, and he actually dominated Mendoza, so I was really impressed with that in more ways than one. Really good performance from Tellez, a bit silly actually. Also on the card, another, well, I was going to say friend of the show, but we've never actually had him on for an interview, but Kevin Newman with the upset win. He's now 19-3 with a draw, a majority decision for him over 10 rounds against Elijah Garcia, now 17-2. Now the commentary team was saying that Kevin Newman needs a knockout. Roy Jones Jr. has gone viral for his corner speech to Kevin Newman, where he was basically swearing like crazy. Roy, he really lost his stuff. And yeah, I don't know if that was a attempt at motivating him or whatever, but well, it worked, I guess, because he managed to get the decision. And I was very surprised because not only was it on a rival, not, you know, like he was in the away corner. I don't want to say rival promoter, but he was in the away corner. And Elijah Garcia's had a couple of dodgy decisions go his way. So this time here, commentary team thinks he needs a knockout. He did okay in the later rounds, Kevin Newman, to be honest with you, but it did seem that he'd maybe left it a little bit kind of like too little too late. And I was very surprised to see him get the decision. You know, it's usually very tough to get a decision against a guy who gets lots of, you know, interesting decisions in the past. So I was really surprised that they actually raised Kevin Newman's hand, but I'm happy for him and hopefully he can build off of that. And then yeah, the main event, Eddie, Sebastian Fundora now 24-1 with a draw, a TKO for him in the 6th, a successful defense of his WBC Super Welterweight World title. Keith Thurman now 31-2. Again, I'm saying it again, I said it on last week's show, when Keith Thurman said to me in our interview that, you know, he spoke in the third person and said Keith Thurman has never been beaten up. He has now. And I didn't enjoy seeing it, I've got to say. He got beaten sort of pillar to post. I like the way that he did try, though. That's one thing I will say, Eddie, and it'd be interesting to hear what you say. But he went in there in the early rounds, tried to box, realised that I think Fundora was just a little bit too big and maybe just a little bit too good. And then Thurman didn't kind of go into a shell. He actually did try to trade with Fundora. He tried to switch up his tactics and he was throwing from the hip, lunging, trying to land something big. He did try that, but he just came up short. He kept getting caught on the end of Fundora's shots. He really struggled with the range, and it's another, you know, feather, I suppose, in Fundora's hat. He's got a big name on his record there, a good win. He's managed to stop Thurman. That's not happened before. So it was a coming out party again for Fundora. But I just want to sort of say credit to Thurman for rolling the dice. It was a massive, massive, you know, jump up in class since God knows how many years since he's boxed someone kind of true world level. But yeah, credit to him. He gave it a good go. He just was not good enough in any area. And it was a bit of an uncomfortable watch being a Thurman fan because, like I say, he got really beaten. And yeah, it could have been stopped a bit sooner, to be honest with you. But he's got a lot of pride, Keith Thurman. And yeah, he needed to kind of be saved from himself in the end. So yeah, great win for Fundora, who's also a friend of the show, by the way. I am happy for him. But yeah, Thurman just couldn't pull it off this time, Eddie.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Joe, I know you're a big fan, and you was able to get him on the show, which is awesome to be able to get him on the show. But
I've been trying for 10 years. I finally got him.
I know it took forever, right? But better late than never. But unfortunately, it was in a situation where he goes on to lose after. I don't think that has anything to do with our luck. I just think it has to do with his inactivity and the jump he made. I think this kid looks vulnerable, right, from the outside. But when you're in there with him, I can imagine it's like a shitstorm of problems because he's so tall, so lengthy, and actually a pretty a damn good puncher. So it you know, from the outside, because of me, I could attest. I've been there with guys taller, but when it was with Vladimir being 6'6", 6'7", his range and his ability to hold it was what really made it impossible for me to get to the area I needed to, and it just felt like one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with in my life to figure out how to get just in punching range. And so with the good part with Fundora is that he gives you a chance because he comes in and he's letting multiple shots go. He's probably throwing too many shots than he needs to be throwing in those situations. He probably should be pressing, but definitely behind a jab. But he just raining shots, and his pace is really he don't get a lot of credit for that. Well, I mean, maybe he does, but and the way I figured he would win the fight would be to force Thurman to kind of do what he was doing, and credit, like you said, to Thurman for being tough enough to keep going and keep trying and keep putting in effort and not really bottling it and giving up. But I said last week's show, if that's going to be an opportunity for Thurman if they're trading, if there's opportunity for him to trade. But I just think that the pace was too crazy. The length and periods of the fight where he was still pressing, but he was doing it at range a little more. That just was like, and it forced, like you said, Keith Thurman to, try to lunge in with shots and throw big shots. And basically, they're all home runs because he's looking to land something big so that he could change the course of the fight. And that was one of the things I said that would be very dangerous if Fundora is able to use his range properly, which in some cases he did. And then the pace just killed him. And I don't think Keith was ready for what this. I know he said he was sparring really tall heavyweights or light heavyweights or something like that, or whatever he said he was doing in camp. But sparring is one thing, fighting is another. And that's why it's important to have a game plan set and prepared to make alternative moves if it doesn't follow through. But I don't know. It just looked to me like he was just going to go in there and think he could box him or outbox him from the outside. And I just think it was an error in judgment, that part. And then all of a sudden now you got to kind of get it back. And I got to figure out how to just go off the cuff. I just got to do something. And then it puts you in a position where you don't have a leg to stand on. And eventually it got to the point where he was just getting hit too much. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate for Thurman. He's never, like you said, he's never been stopped. Tough guy, really confident, really believed in himself. But it's sad sometimes to watch somebody like that basically feel what the end is like. You know what I mean? And know that eventually that it's just coming to a close for him. And I hate to see it, but hey, you got to be realistic. And that fight was just one step in that direction. Hopefully he understands that I'm not saying he needs to retire or anything like that just because of this fight. Fundora is a really talented, tough guy. So I don't expect, I kind of expected it to be a tough fight. But as time goes on, he don't need to take any more of those kinds of beatings. And there's nothing but tough guys in the future, especially at that weight. And it's going to be a rough road. But, I mean, credit to him, and hopefully he can land on his feet in some way and maybe even get another good fight, make some more money. But, it's just a tough night.
Yeah, it was a tough night. And again, when we spoke to him, he did mention about possibly fighting Josh Kelly, who's just picked up a belt, who's obviously a UK fighter who at this moment in time does seem to be sort of struggling to work out what he's going to do next. I actually like that fight, to be honest with you, simply because I think that stylistically, Furman is in that fight. Furman has got much more experience than Kelly. I feel like that would be a good opportunity for Furman. Boxing in the UK, I know that he'd be respected over here, and I like the name as well that Josh can get on his resume as well. And Furman did actually say, win, lose or draw in the Fundora fight, we can possibly do that if he wants it. I actually like that, but again, it's well too soon to discuss that potentially happening, next or anytime soon. He's got a lot to recover from. What was you going to say, Eddie, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I was going to say, man, I like that fight too. I like it a lot. I like Josh Kelly. He can fight. He can box. He's a hell of a boxer. I would love to see that fight. More so because I can see Josh Kelly again to see what happened with Thurman and him now being tested by somebody who's the true elite. Even though he didn't look great, obviously, in this fight, but, who would against a guy like that? But, man, that would be a really, really good fight. Actually be good for both of them to see where Thurman's going and also to see where Kelly's going. It's kind of a crossroads type situation. We see if Thurman's still going or still holding steady, even though he's getting up in age, and to see if Kelly's ready to make that jump. I mean, he's obviously a champion. He got a belt, but it's different having a belt and just being a placeholder than to being somebody who's truly elite. So I would love to see in this fight how that would play out. Like, I really like Josh Kelly's ability. It would be nice to see.
Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that brings the review part to a close. It's now time to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former European welterweight champion. It is, of course, the Savage, Mr. Sam Eggington. Sam, welcome back on the show, my friend.
Nice one, mate. I appreciate you having me.
It's always a pleasure, Sam. So we last spoke back in January of 2024, quite a while ago. At the time, you were getting ready for the Barao fight. I know that's well in the past, but Barao, you know, a very good fighter on his night, Sam. Very underrated, I felt.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, and again, I wasn't even active at the time. I was a bit gutted, but, you know, he went on to prove everyone just how good he was. You know, on to win the world. I think he won the world title. I think he defended it, and then I think he went on to try and unify, didn't he? And from what I've heard, people are saying, you know, it was very close. He could have won that, but yeah, he was a quality operator, mate. He really was.
Yeah, 100%. Since that fight, you came back with a little win, then jumped in with Lee Cutler. Cutler was coming off a good run, a great win over Stephen McKenna. However, you brought his win streak to an end when you got your victory over him. Talk to me about that one, Sam, because you looked really good again that fight.
Yeah, again, it was again. From honest, pal, before that fight, I was working. I didn't have any conditioning for that fight, any strength conditioning. I was just back in the gym for as long as I had. I don't know how long I had, but for as long as I had. And then we were straight to work. But again, you know, if it does get on top, you know, I'll prove the fact that I can, you know, box a bit. And, you know, I've proved it in a few fights where, you know, if my conditioning is not there, I can just sit back and win on the jab if I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it was a different one, but again, clear victory. No real problems apart from the head clashes.
Yeah, it was a good performance. Obviously, that fight was in April of last year. I know you suffered a cut in that fight, but I'm assuming you'd have been ready to go a lot sooner than your next date, which obviously takes place in May. What's been going on in all this time, Sam?
I just can't pick a fight, brother. I'll tell you the truth. After the Pigford fight, it took me, you know, near a year to get the Baru fight. After the Baru fight, you know, there was nothing happening. So I got myself a job, and then a Cutler thing come up, and John said, "Listen, you know, we can jump back on this now." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." But yeah, they're just few and far between, mate. If I'm honest, I feel like I'm more risk than I am reward at the moment. And that's what people are getting. So, you know, if they fight me and beat me, I feel like they're not getting enough for it now. Like I say, that's why I need to pick up some sort of bout or some sort of, you know, mandatory slot. And that way then, you know, I'll be as much reward as I am risk sort of thing. But again, people know when they fight me, you know, win, lose or draw, they're going to go out a different person. Do you know what I mean?
Sam, I didn't know that you actually had a job in the meantime. What were you doing, if you don't mind me asking?
I was just clearing houses out, probably, if I'm honest.
Okay. I did that for
I'll tell you the truth,
actually.
mate. It's just super interesting, mate. Some of the gaffes you go into, honest to God. But yeah, it was interesting, mate. I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah, I did that. I did that for a while. It's yeah, I've never said that on the podcast before, but I did that before I got into podcasting. It's difficult when you've got to give a quote based off of photos and stuff, Sam.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I worked for some sort of company. I don't know what company it was. My brother worked there, and he said, you know, if you wanted to jump on, they'll put you on. And I just did. I think I've done it for about, I don't know how long I've done it for, but some of the sites I saw, mate, it was crazy.
It is
honest
mad. It is mad. But back onto the boxing. May the 2nd in Wolverhampton, you'll be boxing Conah Walker. Am I right in saying it's at 147, Sam?
No, it's at 153.
Oh, okay, 153. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't. They made sure it weren't 154. They wanted it at 153. But again, neither here or there, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And I feel like you've been in so many great fights, packed full of action. I feel like this one, you know, I can't see it being any different. Can you?
Yeah, this one's gonna be as good as the others. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we all know how kind of fights. I'm the same, I suppose. but I've just been doing this shit for longer. Do you know what I mean? Connor's, well, what Connor's well known for and hyped up about, I've been doing for the last 14 years, brother. Do you know what I'm saying? It's only because, you know, he's got a few people shouting his name. The fact that people forgetting that these dog fights is what I've made my career on. So yeah, we'll see how he gets on with someone who's well up for it as well. Not that the others weren't, but they weren't as what do you call it? They weren't as experienced or experienced in it as me, I suppose. But we'll see. You know, we'll see.
He's undoubtedly on a good streak at the moment, but I want to ask, what are your thoughts on him as a fighter? How much do you rate him then?
Listen, again, I'm not a huge watcher of boxing. From what I've seen, he gets the job done. You know, whether it's clean, ugly, hard. Do you know what I mean? He gets the job done. Whether he's down 11 rounds, he finds something. You know what I mean? And you got to worry about someone like that. So I've took him dead serious. And I'm more than confident I'm going to do a job. I'll tell you the truth, but also, it's his boxing. So you got to take everyone as serious as the last.
And I feel like I might have already asked you this, but how do you see this fight playing out? Do you think it just catches light straight away from round one? How do you see it going?
I don't know, but again, it depends how he turns up. I mean, he might come up and shock me, and I don't know. But if he comes in for a tear up from round one, it's meat and drink. I'm just saying to my coach today, someone else, and I was saying I've been throwing around welterweights since I was 20, and I was a welterweight myself. You know, I'm a grown man now, and I've been I'm fully fledged super welter. I've done middle quite well as well. So we'll see, innit? But again, brother, I'm confident. No way am I looking past him, but I'm confident. Yeah.
Cannot wait for the fight. I know you said you don't watch much boxing. I'm hoping you may have seen this one, though. Did you happen to see Josh Kelly's win over the Russian? If so, what did you make of that? He was pretty class.
I didn't, brother. That's the truth.
No.
I do know that the kid was very, I do know that the kid was meant to be really good. Did he beat Tazoo not long before, or the fight before?
Knocked him out, yeah.
But I only found out that after I heard Josh Kelly had fought him.
Okay.
Well, I knew Josh Kelly had fought him, but I didn't know that he'd beat Tazoo until afterwards. But yeah, from what I heard, Kelly, you know, he done what he normally does. He made him look a bit stupid every now and then. I'm pretty sure he got knocked down as well, didn't he? Was that right?
Yeah, they both touched down. Yeah.
Yeah, so he done what he had to do. Got a clear, I think it was a clear win, wasn't it, from what I heard.
Yeah, I felt so, yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't watch it up, I'll tell you the truth. I don't watch anything.
All right.
I didn't watch the weekend.
All right, let me ask you... Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let me ask you then maybe about a couple of fights that's coming up and see if you've got an opinion on them. This weekend, we got Chisora Wilder, Sam. How's that one go for you?
I think it's dangerous on both ends. Obviously, you know, Wilder's got that one punch knockout. But I do think Chisora, if he gets on top, and you know, like, I don't feel like Deontay's the best in close. You know, he sort of wraps up, and that's where Chisora does his best work. I think if Chisora can get on top of him quite early, tire him out, push it on him, I think Chisora wins. I'll tell you the truth. I think he'll grind him down. I think he'll win. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are leaning that way, and be interesting to know if you've got an opinion on this one as well. Tyson Fury returning against Arslanbek Makhmudov, who just beat Dave Allen. Do you think that could be a banana skin for Tyson, Sam?
I don't know. Again, I didn't watch Dave Allen fight, if I'm honest, mate. So I don't know about the geezer. I know he's huge. He's some sort of monster. I don't know how fast he is. I don't know how he boxes. I've never seen him. So, from what I'm hearing, you know, he was. I'm pretty, like, if Tyson's on form in any way, shape, or form, he'll do a clean job. But yeah, I've never seen the geezer, so I can't really say.
No, it's fair. But no, you're right. It's but the guy certainly can bang, and it's just about what Tyson Fury's got left, I think.
Yeah.
Just before we let you go then, Sam, I really appreciate giving me a bit of time this week. If you've got any closing words to the listeners, you want to sign out with a little message before we let you go, say whatever you like, my friend.
Like I say, appreciate the support. Keep listening and tune in on May 2nd.
We all will be tuned in, Sam. As always, the pleasure is mine. Thanks for your time. Best of luck for May 2nd in Wolverhampton, and we'll speak sometime afterwards.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, we're going to go straight to the preview part. There is no news once again. We're going to start here with this one tomorrow at the Planet Ice in Altrincham, I believe it's said, in Cheshire. This one's going to be live on DAZN. We have on the undercard Jordan Thompson, 15-2. I think coming off that loss to one of the Perro brothers. Was it Lenier Perro, I think, in the States? He's back anyway, 15-2. He's obviously a heavyweight these days. He is back in an 8-rounder against David Spilmont, who is 17-9 with a draw. That one's buried on the undercard of the main event, which is Pat Brown, 5-0, back in a fight here, a 10-rounder at cruiserweight for the vacant IBF Intercontinental title. I remember Pat Brown boxing in the US as well, I think, last time. He may have even been on the same card. Anyway, he's boxing Vasyl Dukar, who we've seen a few times. Vasyl Dukar, he boxed, I want to say he boxed. Yeah, he did actually. I was going to say, I want to say he boxed Jordan Thompson. He did box Jordan Thompson back in 2022. Lost on points to him, lost on points to Chev Clark. He's only been stopped the once, which was to Mike Perez. He's been in there with Chris Billum-Smith. So this is a good, he's been in there with Kevin Lorena as well. This is a good kind of measuring stick fight, but you'd have to put your money on Pat Brown. He looks phenomenal right now. He really does. Really looking forward to this one. So that's the Friday night. We then move to the Saturday night. This one is in Cardiff at the Cardiff International Arena. It's going to be live on DAZN. Well, DAZN, I think worldwide, but BBC Two in the UK. We've got Lauren Price, 9-0. This one's over 10-2s. She steps in with Stephanie Aquino, who's 10-0. Both women undefeated there. Somebody's O must go. I believe that is for the most of the belts, if not all of them. I think most of them at welterweight. The IBF, the IBO, the WBC. The WBA, I'm not sure. The WBO I know is not on the line. So there's a bunch of belts anyway. All the best to Lauren Price. This one's also on the Saturday. It goes down at the O2 Arena in Greenwich, London, United Kingdom. Let's touch on it. We have over here Denzel Bentley, a man that we mentioned in part 1 of the show when we mentioned his loss to once upon a time to Nathan Heaney. Still can't believe it happened. He's back in a 12-rounder for the WBO interim middleweight world title. He steps in. His record, by the way, is 21-3-1. He steps in with Endri Saavedra, who's 17-1-1 with 14 KOs, fighter from Venezuela. He's beaten a few sort of guys that I've heard of, like Mikkel Nielsen, Isaac Hardman, but no one sort of on the elite level or anything. He did lose back in 2022 to a guy who, you know, was 10-0 but has gone on to then have a record now of 16-3. This should be a winnable fight for Denzel Bentley, really. But again, I do feel like he's a little bit inconsistent with his performances. Coming off that win over Brad Pauls, which was almost a year and a half ago now. Look what Brad Pauls has done since then. We were speaking about him as well, obviously, in part 1. Also on the card, we have Vidal Riley, 13-0. This one's for the EBU Cruiserweight title over 12 rounds. He's in a step up here against Matthias Masternek, who is 50-6. I remember his fight with Chris Billum-Smith, the fight that he was winning well, and then he got stopped on a body shot. I think he had a broken rib or something there. He's disappeared and come back with 3 wins since then. 2 by KO. One was against Joel Dzeko, who I think at one point, Eddie, you were maybe going to fight in Belgium. That fight never ended up happening. But anyway, this would be an interesting one. Vidal Riley looks decent. I'm not a massive fan. I don't think he's like going to be a world champion or anything, but I like this fight. It's a big step up for him. I don't think he's going to get Masterneck out of there, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And yeah, the main event, Eddie, Deontay Wilder, 44-4 with a draw, back in a 12-rounder against Derek Chisora in what will be his 50th pro fight. Deontay Wilder, as we know, coming off a win that he had back in Kansas, back in June of last year, a kind of easy win. He got the stoppage in the end, but, you know, it was against a much lower level guy. Prior to that, though, he'd lost 4 of his last 5 fights, both fights with Fury. He beat Helenius in just a round, lost to Parker, lost to Zhang by a devastating KO. Derek Chisora, on the other hand, coming off 3 wins. He does seem to be having a good patch in his career. Prior to those 3 wins, he'd lost 4 of his last 5 as well. So that's a bit similar with Wilder. But the 3 wins that he's coming off, Gerald Washington, Joe Joyce, Otto Wallin, he says he's going to stop Wilder. And Wilder has looked vulnerable and very shot in recent fights. But the last time Chisora knocked anyone out was back in October of 2019. So what's that? 6.5 years ago, he knocked out David Price, who we know had issues with his chin and stamina. So that's a long time ago. I am intrigued by this fight, and Deontay Wilder. I mean, I don't want to be fooled by him again, but he does seem to be saying the right things and looking like maybe he's got his mojo back. I think it's a fact that he's had a lot of things going on outside of the ring. He split with one of his, his ex-wife or whatever it was, his baby mother, whoever it was. He split with her. I know that was a lot of drama outside the ring. He split with Malik Scott. I don't even know who's in the corner with him these days. But I just don't know how this is going to go. I mean, obviously, prime for prime, Wilder would have knocked Chisora out, but Chisora does seem to be in good form, like I mentioned, and Wilder seems like he's fallen off a cliff. I don't know how it goes, but I know that Chisora is the favourite. But to be honest with you, I actually want Wilder to win this fight, if I'm being honest. How do you see it going, Eddie?
You do? You want Wilder to win?
Yeah.
I'm just always. I mean, I don't have anything against either fighter. I mean, I think Chisora could be crazy at times, but he's always been, he's always been all right with me. I've seen some wild stuff that he's done, like with the whole thing with Vladimir spitting the water and craziness like that, and them getting into a fight at the press conference with David Hay. But that's all stuff outside. I mean, things that go on the ring. He's a tough guy. He's a hard guy he's a hard guy to beat, hard guy to deal with because of the pace that he brings and the toughness and the grit. And now that he's an older guy and it's like he's on his way out, you know what I mean? It's kind of like he's gotten people behind him being somewhat of a underdog, you know what I mean? Especially going to a fight like this with Wilder, with most. I don't know what the bookmakers are saying, but a lot of people thinking that right hand's still good enough to get Chisora out, but I'm not sure. I mean, obviously Wilder hasn't looked good in a while, and even in the win he had, it wasn't really a glowing performance from what I understand. So I don't know. I would like to see. I just want to see a good fight between 2 old guys with they're long in the tooth. They can still give a good show. You know what I mean? I like to see. Where they both don't get, seriously hurt or put out to the point where they're in real trouble. But at the same time, I do kind of want to see that drama created. So I'm semi looking forward to it because I know Chisora brings it, and I know Wilder, if he still got that right hand, is going to have something waiting for it. So let's just see if the unstoppable force can, deal with the immovable object. You know what I'm saying? So, very interesting fight, even at this stage. Would have been nice if it was a little earlier, but yeah, still want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, we were supposed to get it a long time ago. We are finally getting it now, many years later. Also, this one, I mean, that's it for that card. But moving now to this next one here, goes down on Sunday at the Wynn Entertainment Centre in New South Wales, Australia. Over here we have Sam Goodman, 21-1. He's back against Rodrigo Ruiz, who's 23-1. That's over 12 rounds. We do have the return as well to the ring for Tim Tszyu, who is 26-3. It'll be his 30th pro fight. Wow, oh, wow. This one's for the vacant WBO International Middleweight title. He steps in with the undefeated 20-0 Dennis Nurja. Never heard of the guy, I'm not going to lie, but it could be interesting. And then finally, again on Sunday at the Kensington Olympia in London, this is a MVP Jake Paul Most Valuable Promotions card in the UK. It's going to be live on Sky Sports. It's a pretty much all women's card. I think there's a couple of men's fights, really low level men that are deep down the undercard, but the highlight and the spotlight is on the women here. We have former world champion Shannon Courtney, 10-3, back in an 8-rounder against Sasha Booker, who's 3-1. That's 8 2-minute rounds. We've got Chloe Watson, 9-2, back against Teresa McKinnon, who I believe is from Finland. She's 5-0. That's over 8 2s. We've got friend of the show, Chantel Cameron, 21-1. She's back for the vacant WBO Super Welterweight World title against Michaela Kotaskova, who is 11-0 with 2 draws, undefeated there. That could be interesting, to be honest. We also have Irma Garcia, 25-5 with a draw, defending her IBF Super Flyweight World title against friend of the show and undefeated 8-0 Emma Dolan. All the very best to Emma and her trainer Carl Greaves. We also have for the undisputed Super Bantamweight titles, Ellie Scotney, 11-0. She's back here against Mayeli Rosquero, who's 13-1 with a draw. Had a little look at Rosquero. I don't know where she's been sort of plucked from. But I can't remember what it was. I think I had a little look at her BoxRec photo and just thought, how on earth is she going to beat Ellie Scotney? I just want to have one more look. I'm not sure what it was, because I wouldn't normally go off of photos, but there must have been something more. I don't know if it was a look at her record or a photo. Oh yeah, that was what it was, her height. She's 4'11". I just can't see her beating Ellie Scotney in any way. You know, Ellie Scotney's 5'4", but Jesus Christ, she can fight. And then the main event, Caroline Dubois against Terry Harper. Dubois 12-0 with a draw. Terry Harper 16-2-2, over 10 2s for the WBC and WBO lightweight world titles. Yeah, I mean, what can we say about this? I am super confident. I mean, obviously it's a unification, but I'm super confident in Caroline Dubois, who's another friend of the show, almost forgot. I think she's going to have too much for Terry Harper. I don't think that I'm going to allow myself to be tricked by Terry Harper's punching of the bag videos in the gym. She uploads a lot of videos. I know we've all seen them, and you know, she looks good on the bag and stuff like that. But I just don't think she's got it anymore, to be honest with you. You know. She beat Rhiannon Dixon, and that was a good win, to be honest, but that was over a year and a half ago now. She beat Natalie Zimmerman. Like, look, I'm not saying she's completely done, but I don't think she's going to be able to deal with the freshness of Caroline Dubois. So I would lean towards Dubois. I don't know if I would say stoppage or not. I'd probably go for a points win for Dubois, but I'm very confident Dubois gets the job done, whichever method. I think I'm 100% sure she beats Terry Harper. I'll be putting something on that this weekend. But anyway, that brings the preview to a close. In part 1, we did the review part. Then we welcomed our special guest. In part 2, we did the preview part. There was no news. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 544 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A massive shout out to this week's special guest, the former European Welterweight champion, Mr. Sam Eggington. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. Thanks once again for tuning in. That is about everything now from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we'll see you all again same time next week.